you. Whenever I talk to adults and talk about reading young adult novels, I'm always sure to talk about The Cardturner by Louis Sachar, which is one of my favorite novels. The Cardturner is Alton Richards' story. Alton is 17 years old. It's summertime. He's going to enter his senior year in the fall, but he's at a particularly low point in his life. His girlfriend's broken up with him to date his best friend, and he doesn't have a summer job. His mother thinks it would be a brilliant idea for Alton to drive her Uncle Lester, who is very, very old and very, very rich, to his bridge matches 4 times a week. Now, the fact that Uncle Lester has a great fortune and no heir is not something that's lost on Alton's mother. It is, however, not something that impresses Alton. Neither does bridge, or driving a really old blind guy to bridge tournaments 4 times a week. But Alton doesn't have a job and he doesn't have many other alternatives, so he does. He takes his Uncle Lester to his bridge tournaments. It's not until, though, Alton becomes Uncle Lester's Cardturner that things really change for him. He learns about bridge, he learns about life, he learns about love, and he learns a lot about family. So The Cardturner is Alton Richards' story. The Cardturner is also Louis Sachar's story. Louis Sachar is a master bridge player, and he decided to challenge himself to write The Cardturner so that he could inspire a generation of younger people to take up the game of bridge. Because as an old person's game, bridge is starting to die out if the younger generation doesn't pick it up. So Louis Sachar wrote this novel and has hoped to inspire young people. And I read his website, and he has inspired at least one young person that he met at a bridge tournament that had read The Cardturner and taken up the game. I imagine there are hundreds more out there. But what struck me was what a great book The Cardturner was for adults. So I recently emailed Louis Sachar and asked him if adults read The Cardturner as well. And here's what he wrote. He wrote me an email. I had an incredible fan moment when I got that email. And he said, in addition to other things in this lovely email, I've met lots of adults at bridge tournaments who've read The Cardturner. Then he goes on a little later to say, they generally tell me how they gave the book to their kids and grandkids so that their family will understand their obsession. So The Cardturner is definitely Louis Sachar's story. The Cardturner is also my story. I decided to read The Cardturner because I love Louis Sachar's books. You will probably know the famous Holes that won the Newbery Award. It was one of my favorites, and so I picked up The Cardturner. I'm a card player. My mom plays bridge. I thought it'd be a good book. And it was a good book. In fact, it was such a good book, I decided to give it to my husband. That might not sound like a big deal, but my husband, who's 46 years old, is not a huge reader. He loves magazines, he likes nonfiction books, but he doesn't read fiction. So I give him books all the time and he ignores them. But Bob read The Cardturner. Bob's 46 years old, but at the age of 39, he had a massive cerebral brain hemorrhage, which left him permanently disabled. We lived in Ontario, Canada, and we moved back home to Newfoundland shortly after, about a year after Bob had his brain hemorrhage, so that we could be closer to family and the supports that would come with that. So Bob was displaced from his social circle, from all of the people he knew. He wasn't going to be able to work. And reintegrating into society was a very difficult thing for Bob. So I gave him The Cardturner, hoping that it might be a good leisure read that he would like. And in fact, he did. He read it and he liked it. He liked it so much that a couple of weeks later, he was looking at the city activity guide and realized there was a beginner bridge class going on at the community center. And he signed up for that class and he took it. And in fact, he gave both of his instructors a copy of The Cardturner that they read, and one of his instructors gave it to one of her grandkids, so Louis Sachar is right. And he did the entire class and learned how to play bridge, which If you know anybody that's had a brain hemorrhage or a stroke, you'll know that's no easy feat. But even more exciting was the fact that after the class was over, Bob found a bridge group that meets once a week at a community center in the different part of town. And now every weekend we get a phone call from his friend Dawn, and they carpool together to bridge. So the Cardturner is Alton Richards' story. It's also Louis Sachar's story, and it's my story, and my husband Bob's. I hope if you decide you'd like to pick up a good book this weekend, it'll become your story too. Thank you.